Hi, I'm Stargate Pioneer.
And I'm Steven John Drew, and we're from Better Podcasting, a proud member of the Gonna Geek Network.
Just like the show you're listening to now.
The opinions expressed are those of the individual host.
Check out all the other podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
And get ready, because geekiness begins in 3,
2,
1.
Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 21, a special edition of Nerd Alert News. I'm Chris Farrell, and I have a special guest with me today. I've got one very own Neil from the Gonna Geek Network, from the Starling Tribune, Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. Longbox Edition, and of course, at Neil Isn't Witty on Twitter. Thanks for joining me today, Neil.
Hey, my pleasure, Chris.
Now, I didn't miss anywhere else. I was supposed to promote where you were, right?
No, you could have added formerly of the Legends podcast,
That's
but
right,
I think you got it.
Yeah, so we did a good job plugging that. But Nerd Alert News, this is the show where basically we set it up so that if something big happens during the week, there's going to be an off-cycle episode. And we kind of had something big happen, hence this special edition. It was confirmed today on CBS.com and Variety. Both had the article. The Flash is going to be appearing in an episode of Supergirl coming up. We even have a date for it. Barry Allen comes to National City on March 28th. But that's all we know. Literally, right now, we have no plot details. We have no idea why Barry Allen, is going to be appearing on Supergirl. We just know that it was kind of predicted. There was a lot of fanboy speculation as to whether it would happen because of some photos taken before that had both Melissa Benoist and Grant Gustin in costume on set together. When this news came out today, though, Greg Berlanti and Andrew Kreisberg were quoted on CBS.com saying, "We are so incredibly excited to announce something that we have dreamed of happening since we started making Supergirl. The Flash and Supergirl are teaming up. We want to thank Grant Gustin for making the time to come visit on top of his already immense workload, and all of the folks at CBS, the CW, Warner Bros., and DC for working this out. And finally, thanks to the fans and journalists who have kept asking for this to happen. It's our pleasure and hope to create an episode worthy of everyone's enthusiasm." So you might be going, guys, why is this a surprise? Because not a few months earlier, they had basically said, yeah, crossover's tough to do. We have to have everything happen just right so we can cross over these two properties. And it sounds like that might be what just happened here.
I'm super excited. You know, the minute I saw this news break today, I think I took to the internet because you're right. Greg Berlanti had said this wasn't going to happen unless everything went right, and don't hold your breath, and we're making no promises. And some of the execs actually over at CBS said, no, they came right out and said it's not going to happen. So I think the fanboy buzz around this was, a lot of hopes and dreams, perhaps, saying we would love this. And does this mean that the Flaro universe is truly connected to the Supergirl universe? And I think you've got some thoughts on how that might work, Chris.
So I'd stash some notes aside. And of course, I'm really curious to hear what you think about this. And I'm sure we'll be talking about it on Starling Tribune at least a little bit tomorrow night when we record it. So the opinions will abound. But my questions that I had is, does this mean Barry Allen is Supergirl's part of the Flaro universe, the Flash and Arrow world that's been created? And I'm kind of thinking no, because they have the perfect out on Flash. If you notice, they've been sealing these dimensional breaches that go to different Earths. My guess is what we have here is something goes wrong and Barry somehow ends up on, we'll call this Earth 3, and meets up with Supergirl, or Earth 5, as Kent has put it in the chat, and has to find his way back home, and that's what causes him to have to team up with Supergirl.
Yeah. And personally, I don't want that to be the case. I want one big interconnected, everything all loaded pizza bagel of superhero goodness. I want Melissa Benoist to be in Central City on occasion. I want to see Team Arrow in National City. I want a DC connected universe. Heck, we brought Constantine back in from a different series into the Flaro universe, and they're teasing all these great secondary characters in Legends of Tomorrow. If you've been watching the DC Instagram account and then following what's been going over on at DC Comics, it makes sense. They're building this out. With one hand they giveth, and apparently with Suicide Squad and BVS, with the other hand, they taketh away.
They taketh away just a little bit. So I really think it'd be cool if they were connected. But the reason I'm thinking they're not is the Supergirl show, and I'm very behind, guys. Very behind. I fully admit this. Has already established that Clark Kent, Superman, is well known in that world. And we go and look at the Flash and Arrow universe, and the only superheroes we really know are Barry and Ollie and things like that. There's been no mention of Superman, and you would think a character with that much power, that many abilities, would be on the international stage, and we've heard nothing about him. That's why I'm thinking this alternate Earth theory is probably the path they'll go, because that way they keep DC and CW happy. We did this crossover, but there's no lasting ramifications.
I hate to say you're right, but you're probably right. I still don't want it to be the case, though.
I certainly don't.
I think with the same producer, with a lot of the same writing staff, if you take a look at the credits, a shared history between the two lead actors on both these series from their days on Glee, I think we're about to see some pretty amazing synergy. I don't think they're going to want to make this a one and done. They're going to want to capitalize on this. Think of the ratings this will bring over to the CW. Think of the diehard Flash fans now in season 2 that it's going to bring over to Supergirl, which, although it had a pretty down day with ratings because of the primaries this Monday, I think is building momentum of its own with a different viewership segment. I think they don't want to just do this and let it go.
I think it'll be a great crossover from a ratings standpoint, because if you look, Flash's ratings have gone steadily up. And if you look at last week's episode, not this previous one, but the one from last week, it was actually the #1 television show in the United States at the 8 p.m. time slot, beating out NCIS. Now, here's the caveat. NCIS, which is normally America's most watched TV show, they promote it, was a rerun that Tuesday. But still, it normally pulls in pretty hefty numbers. And The Flash, the little show that could on CW, was the #1 show at 8 p.m. So there's a groundswell of support that keeps growing for this. And I think that goes to help Supergirl. I mean, this is me. I'm behind on it. I've watched like 2 or 3 episodes, and I looked at my girlfriend today. I said, hey, we got to get caught up on Supergirl because The Flash is showing up. Not that I didn't want to watch it. It's just, it was at the bottom of my list, some of my stuff, just because I'm so bogged down with stuff I have to watch.
I'm 1 episode behind. I missed this week, so no spoilers for you. I've heard it was a great episode, but I know that my wife is flagging on this one. She's like, I'm not sure. I guarantee with The Flash coming into this one, we're going to be up to speed in no time. So it hasn't even aired, and it's driving viewership.
Oh, I saw the internet explode about it. In all honesty, when I saw this story, I was like, okay, who clicked on an April Fool's joke and thinks this is real? And I actually opened it up on Facebook, and that's about the same time Messenger goes off on my phone, and Neil sends me like, look what's going on. I'm like, it must be true. There's 2 of us that have seen it now.
Yeah, and I think it means a lot more. It means shared villains, which may or may not have shared histories in the DC Comics universe between them. You're right. I don't know how they would handle the whole Superman thing, but Superman has largely been conveniently absent from Supergirl as well, except in frequent comments and in 1 episode where he kind of pulls her bacon out of the fire. But it means big things. And I think it's a short step to figuring out a fix. I mean, come on, they've got some amazing writers, and it is a comic book universe. They can explain things because plot.
Yeah, exactly. See, I would love to see, if they're doing these interconnected universes, I would love to see the Legends of Tomorrow show up on Supergirl somehow.
I
that
think
would be cool.
Yeah, and we've talked about this on the Starling Tribune, that one of the things that the Mark Guggenheim, Greg Berlanti, Andy Kreisberg writing pool has is the ability to create these strong female characters, whether we're talking about Felicity, Nisa, Danielle Padenbaker's character, or we're talking about Supergirl in her own show. The ability to bridge those universes with those characters, bringing Supergirl and mixing it with Hawkgirl. I mean, if you watched Justice League Unlimited, there were some interesting interactions there with a slightly younger Supergirl and a slightly older Hawkgirl. It's just, I want to see that in live action. Maybe I'm selfish. And with Vixen coming too, imagine Vixen interplaying with both those universes.
Oh man, that would be really cool. The thing that really bums me out is you're talking about how all this stuff would be so cool, and I really still think it's going to be a one and done. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Well, hey, but we have a date though, so we don't have to wait that long.
The question is, when do they start dropping us some little hints of what's going to happen? That's what I don't know about. I mean, literally, we know nothing other than the fact it's happening.
And I was going to say, you know, living here in Storybrooke, which it happens to be a suburb of Star and Central City by weird coincidence, I've got a lot of friends that live in condos and apartments, look onto onto alleys where Flash and Arrow quite often shoot. So I would have been neat to go, oh, look. But then I realize that Flash is going to National City. So I can't even use the Star City network to try to find things in the background.
Unless they somehow have to, maybe they'll do something with they didn't say anything about anyone else from the Flash show showing up, but maybe there's a possibility some of the other characters show up during this whole, oh my God, what happened to Barry? How'd this happen? A man can dream.
Well, and again, they're saying that Barry is going to National City. So it's likely just Barry. You know, he takes a little cross-country jaunt and, hey, he runs into this person in a cape, which would be awesome. But again, bringing Cisco into that whole group of characters, a little Cisco goes a long way, and it makes everything that much better.
I thought the exact same thing, that I would love to see Cisco's reaction to Supergirl. It would just be fun because he is like the inner fanboy he's like the representative of us fanboys on these shows, as he comes up with the character names and just geeks out about how cool everything is going on around him.
Yeah, and the synergies or the similarities between Flash and Barry, having a good friend who's a reporter, and Supergirl having James Olsen as a best friend as well, both having the tech person. It works on a lot of levels. I think it would be fun. But yeah, again, I've got that little voice in the back of my head that, you know, sounds a lot like you saying, yeah, it's Earth 5.
It's just because I'm cynical and I want to be proven wrong. So please, the writing team for Supergirl and Flash, prove me wrong here. Make it so there's something where we can have this connection come back again. But it's the ultimate Deus Ex Machina, man. Just call Supergirl.
Is that a bad thing, though? If she comes, and they'll always find reasons why she can't.
That's true.
Yeah. So, and remember, the neat thing about the Supergirl universe, if you've you said you've only watched a few episodes.
I know spoilers though, because I can't help myself.
Yeah, you know spoilers. So, spoiler alert. All right, fair warning. She loses her powers for a while. So this isn't the all-powerful Kryptonians that we have seen in some of the other series, where, you know, there are limitations to Kryptonian powers, and even the Nemesis in the Supergirl series calls that out at one point. So it could be seen as the ultimate Deus Ex Machina, but not always.
She's not as overwhelmingly powerful as they tried to portray Kryptonians in the movies and things like that, which I'm totally okay with. Definitely. But as we're wrapping up the normal time for the show, I did want to open up the Blab for some folks to give their conspiracy theories of where they see this possibly going, or just their initial impressions on this story. So Adam has joined us, aka at @StarSaber_222, for those of you that want to follow him on Twitter.
Hey guys, how are you doing?
Good. How are you doing tonight?
Pretty good. So I think it's going to be the whole multiverse thing. At least that's a lot better than the other idea I had in the back of my mind, where there just happens to be a Flash on her Earth that looks the same as the Flash from the CW.
Oh, that'd be such a cop-out if they did that.
Yeah, that's why I'm more strongly thinking the multiverse side of things. And I hope that the last scene is them racing, because from what I understand in the comics, Superman and Flash racing for charity is always a big thing.
It is, and I could see that being really cool. And they touch on that even in the old Smallville world, where Bart Allen's introduced and is constantly racing with Clark Kent.
Yeah.
I like those theories. And it's another guy who believes in the multiverse theory like me. I'm sure, though, that seems to be the prevalent theory from what I've seen online.
Well, considering that in season 2, when Diggle was not entirely believing the whole Mirakuru soldier thing yet, he was like, what next, aliens? And in Supergirl, Superman's been active for at least 10 years, let's say, because he was already in the suit when he pulled her out of her ship.
I'm on board with you. I just want to be wrong.
Yeah, I'm going to hope against hope on this one, guys.
I mean, if they can consistently do this, because all the portals we've seen in Flash have just been between the main Flash Earth and what they're calling, what all of them except Harry are calling Earth 2. So either those portals can go to other places, or there will be something else that happens.
See, I'm really hoping they set something up in this week's Flash. So spoiler alert, if anyone didn't watch the preview for the next episode, it seems like they're going to Earth 2 this next week. I would love them to have some kind of mention of something going wrong as they go through the portal and something doesn't show up or something like that. And it shows up in an episode of Supergirl to kind of set it up. Like, say, Barry's Flash icon falls off or something as he's going through, and that winds up in Earth 5 or wherever Supergirl takes place. Just a little tease right now to get everyone ready.
Yeah. Okay, and I was about to say something and then lost it.
I'm good at derailing people like that. So, Adam, where can we find you? Go ahead.
And I just remembered what it was. They said that Flash is showing up on Supergirl. They haven't said anything about it being two ways like the Flash Arrow crossovers have been.
Right.
I mean, that might be a special effects budget type issue.
Or it could be that, or it could be CBS going, hey, we're the big boy network here. We own part of you, so your character can come to our network or something like that. Who knows TV politics?
Yeah, but I mean,
could be. Sorry, go ahead.
If it's
Adam.
something that can be reproduced, I mean, even if it's a multiverse thing, there's nothing saying you can't do it again, like Barry doing the whole back in time a day to fix stuff that he screwed up. I mean, if they do it once a season, I would hope that sometimes it would go the other direction too, but we'll have to wait and see. I mean, it might just be that Flash is further ahead in their season recording and in their filming, and they're hitting the point where everything needs to be focused on building up to the finale.
That could be, because March 22nd, that's what, about 5-6 weeks out? So if you assume they're not taking any breaks, that puts you at episode 18 or so?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Just taking a rough swag here, somewhere between 16 or 18. So if you think how they've done Flash and Arrow at that point, they are full bore on wrapping up the season around that point in time, it seems like.
Yeah.
Definitely. I like that thought. You and I have very similar thoughts on this one, Adam.
Okay.
And I'm
so,
refusing
Adam,
to believe it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Listeners, we can find you on Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. Long Box Edition, right?
Yeah, most weeks. I took a week off, but I'm coming back.
Oh, that's exciting. It's one of my favorite shows. And again, I don't always get to it on time, though, so I apologize, guys.
Yeah, and this week, because of Agent Carter, I'm going through the Operation Sin miniseries from last year, which was Peggy Carter and Howard Stark.
That'll be fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that'll be fun. Well, thank you so much for popping in and giving us your opinions or conspiracy theories on where they might be going with Flash and Supergirl.
Okay. Talk to you guys later.
We'll see you later, Adam. Thanks again.
Bye.
So we'll start to wrap things up now, because Nerd Alert News, normally about a 20-minute show max. We're giving you guys a good dose of our conspiracy theories. But as we wrap up, I did want to give a big thanks to Adam for popping in, giving his theories. And of course, a giant thank you to my co-host on the Starling Tribune, Neil, for joining me today. Neil, where can folks find you online?
Thanks, Chris. They can find me on the Gonna Geek Network at the Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. Longbox Edition, where we run down each week's Marvel comics and focus on a couple picks of the week. And they can find us both on the Starling Tribune, the Gonna Geek Network's very own CW Arrow podcast.
That's right. And if you're watching live tonight, we're recording this on February 3rd. Tomorrow, February 4th at 9 p.m. Eastern, we'll be talking Arrow on the Starling Tribune live on the Blab streaming service. So swing on over. Come be part of our crowd. Tell us what you think about the episode that I haven't watched yet, so nobody spoil in the chat room.
That's up next.
It's up next for me, too. So if you want any more details on the story we've talked about today on Nerd Alert News, you can grab the show notes. Head on over to shownotes.nerdalertnews.com. The Google Docs folder is embedded on that page, and you can find all the show notes and click on it. Go directly to the stories we've referenced here. As we wrap things up, don't forget you can get in touch with the show a variety of ways. Head on over to nerdalertnews.com on the web. Email me directly at nerdalertnews247@gmail.com, or tweet at the show at nerdalertshow. But I think that is going to wrap us up for this week, unless you've got any final thoughts, Neil.
I can't wait to see it.
I can't either, man. We've got like 5 weeks, man. They're going to have to give us some pictures and some spoilers soon. Not like major spoilers, of course, but teaser spoilers.
Tiny spoilers.
Tiny spoilers. So, everyone, I think that's going to wrap up this latest installment of Nerd Alert News. But don't worry, we'll be back soon with your next Nerd Alert. Bye, guys.
See ya.
You've been listening to Nerd Alert News. For more information, head on over to nerdalertnews.com. The music used in this show is produced by Kevin MacLeod and can be found at incompetech.com.